Am I the asshole for being mad at after my husband failed to show apperication on a special day again? I honestly think he's clueless, but his meds can make him dense. Either way, he won't let it go, so to internet strangers I go. My birthday is in May. For the last 3 years, my husband has dropped the ball. The short explanation is he forgot and he scrounged for something last minute, but I did not feel appericated at all. He's in chronic pain, so he can't work. We're trying for Social Security for him, but he's been denied 4 to 5x at this point. I know he'll be extremely unlikely to contribute financially without Social Security ever again. I have come to terms with that. It wasn't easy, though. For the first 3+ years after I became the breadwinner, I would come home from my swing shift around 2 a.m. earliest, and immediately begin cleaning. He and my son would be home all day during this time except school. He was making dinner but contributing less than the minimum, and thought nothing of watching anime or being on his computer all day. He thought that since he got my kid to school barely and rarely on time, and that food was ready, he was done. I would scrounge for clothes for work, wash my own silverware and cups, and clear a spot on the couch just to sit. I talked to him and he'd later get diagnosed with depression. It improved, but by the slightest margin. My birthday is in May. I started reminding him in April so he wouldn't plan something last minute again. I even warned him that it was a Sunday so we'd have to plan something for Saturday if we were going to do anything. He said he got it. I reminded him 3x more until he was pissed and told me to stop, and I assumed he had a plan. Day before I wake up and he says he needs to run to the store for picnic supplies. I overslept and he wanted to be there when I woke up. He didn't come back until after 2, while I sat at home and literally did nothing. We eventually loaded the kid and dogs and head to the park. It took 30 minutes more. I asked if this was all and he said no. On the day of, he'd planned to stay at home and play video games as a family. It felt like an any day of the week activity, and we'd literally done it on Tuesday that week. I said I was hoping he would have put more thought into it, and he admitted that he planned a party based on what he likes, not me. This upset me and I was holding back tears by the time we arrived to the park. The park is overused and the tables are frequently nasty, so I asked him if he had our picnic cloth. He forgot we had one to bring. All the items were quick grocery store deli staples like potato salad and chicken wings. My teeth are worse than bad and I'm pre-diabetic. He typed to himself, so I couldn't eat most the stuff due to sugar. The rest I either didn't like, or it had bacon or ham, which I'm allergic to. This is well known but was likely an honest mistake. Nothing was there I could eat without a sugar spike or reaction. He had grabbed the free packs of plasticware but didn't have cups or napkins. The table was covered in random goo and bird poop, so I couldn't sit at a clean spot anyway. I felt really upset and asked to go home. We'd been there less than 10 minutes. We had a huge fight and it spilled over to my birthday. I said he should leave but refused and said I was the one that needed to go. He kicked me out on my birthday. I told him I had nowhere to go and with one income, we couldn't afford a hotel. I took a 3-hour nap in my car parked at the complex, and then texted my 15-year-old kid to have dad come and apologize. He eventually did, but it felt so forced. The next week was Mother's Day. While he did make an effort, it felt thrown together and he mostly piggybacked on a celebration my sister, dad, and I were doing for my mom. We went mini-golfing, but the last time we did was for his birthday 3 years back. It felt like he copied and pasted a party I'd done for him and gave it to me. A lot of arguments were had that month, including him telling me to leave again but I'd refused. I found out he'd used my private laptop to look up divorce lawyers by adding a user account without telling me. My family wasn't good at boundaries growing up, so I hoard my technology and make everyone ask first. He told me he needed it and wasn't sure if I'd ever be back for it. I use it for work every day, and even though he still tried to say I should be grateful he didn't screw with my personal account, he eventually admitted he was pissed and didn't want to unbury his gaming desktop, so he used mine. I changed the password. I told him he was being disrespectful again and that I hadn't felt appericated. He told me we didn't have money for large gifts, but it wasn't about that. He did give me the new Zelda game, and when I told him he couldn't play it for a while, he said he understood. 3 weeks later, he texted me to tell me that he only spent 3 hours playing video games on my Switch and that Zelda was fun. I asked why he violated my boundaries again, and he said he was sorry and had forgotten. He has ADHD and takes a med for his depression that helps slightly but can't do more. It's very severe and he blamed his not asking on this. He said since I had it too, I should understand. I deleted his account and set a parental control so he can't play anymore. Long story long, we were fighting a lot, but by the end of May, we're back in a state of pissed off right beneath the surface that we always are. My anniversary is this week. My sister-in-law called to invite us to a party for her husband's birthday. Was just after our anniversary on that Saturday, so I put her on speaker and asked what plans Hubs had made for the anniversary. It was 6 days away at this point. I still don't believe his whole "I'll so better next year" song and dance. I told him he would plan everything for now to prove it. I typically planned anniversary activities, vacations, etc., but was done showing love without getting it in return. He said he hadn't planned anything as we were fighting and he didn't even know if we'd still be together by our anniversary. I let sister-in-law go and yell at him. It felt like I'm parenting my husband, telling him his chores, reminding him be nice, and asking for nearly every apology. I reminded him that I wasn't planning anything this time and he still said he didn't know if we'd be together. The home front has been quiet since the end of May. He didn't ask if I wanted to do something. He was going to just let it slide. I told him I'm hurt that I have to remind him and that he's rushing around again to show appreciation. He said he'd do something for us, but I should have been aware this could happen since we were fighting nearly every day for May. I just want to feel appreciated without having to push, prod, remind, and plan my own special days. Am I the asshole for assuming he'd step up since we'd been fighting nearly all month? Edit. Looking up lawyers was a power trip move. He admitted he did it to piss me off with no intention of following through. Edit 2. A lot of you ain't focused on my son. I see what you're saying. I didn't ask that. Also, we've been in therapy when I was in college for 3 years. ADHD barriers and then graduation caused it to be talking the talk bit, not walking the walk. I also took individual therapy in 2022, but COVID restrictions and work stuff caused me to only get 6 sessions before I had to stop. Filing for divorce is $600 plus and there are no exceptions classes to take that are another $500 plus before it's finalized. I live check to check and can't afford that even if I wanted to. Also, I'm no bang maid. He has ED. I've been celibate for over 5 years. Another edit. Obviously this isn't the full story. He can't do WFH because his pain meds take his brain and he ends up basically being high all day. But give him a dopamine-producing task like a game, and he doesn't need to focus on it. ADHD and meds in combination. Also, his doctor says he's unlikely to work again without a drastic change. Am I the asshole for evicting my brother and his family for insulting my husband, causing them to be homeless? I, 34-year-old male, grew up in a very conservative household. My parents and my older brother Max, 38, hold extreme, bigoted views. I'm gay, so that was hard on me growing up. In my 20s, my grandpa died and left me a large chunk of inheritance. It was enough to put a down payment on a house in another county. I decided I no longer wanted to be associated with my family, so I came out to them right before I moved away. They reacted horribly, saying I was going to rot in hell and that I was dead to them. Fine with me. I moved and we haven't spoken in years. Since I moved, I landed a great job and met the love of my life. My husband Jonah, 35-year-old male. However, this is where the problem arises. A month ago, I got a message from Max. He apologized for what he said when I came out and said he wanted to reconnect. But he then told me that he had lost his job and his family, his wife Donnie and their 2 kids, was about to be evicted. So he asked if they would be able to stay with me for a few months until they got back on their feet. He also said that he would have asked to stay at my parents' place, but they recently moved to an assisted living facility. My first instinct was to say no, but when I told Jonah, he said we should give them a chance because Max could have changed and he doesn't want the kids to be homeless. I finally agreed and messaged Max that I would help him on a few conditions. 1. Under no circumstances is he allowed to bring up politics or mention his political opinions. 2. Under no circumstances is he allowed to disrespect me, my husband, or our home. I told Max that if they break the rules, he and his family would be out, 0 tolerance. He agreed, and they came to stay a few weeks ago. Jonah works from home, so I told him to tell me if Max ever said or did anything that broke the rules. For the first few weeks, everything was fine, but a few days ago, Jonah called me crying while I was at work. He said that he told Max to clean up after his kids because they were making a mess. Max didn't want to, so that started an argument. It culminated in Max screaming that he didn't want a FG telling him what to do. I was furious. When I got home, I told Max he and his family had 2 days to pack and get out. He started arguing with me and said Jonah was lying, but I know Jonah would never lie about something like that. When he saw I was serious, he said I was a terrible person for making his kids homeless, but I said he did this to himself. Donnie then stepped in and apologized for Max, which confirms he said it, and begged me to give them another chance, but I said 0 tolerance means 0 tolerance. They didn't start packing until I threatened to call the police. I gave them the address for a homeless shelter and they left. But they keep texting asking to come back, saying their kids are suffering. Even some of my cousins are getting involved and are saying it's cruel to punish children for their parents' mistake. Am I the here? Edit. Lots of people are asking why they can't just live with my cousins. My cousins live all the way across the country, so according to them, it's more practical for Max and his family to live with me.